Hello, everybody. I am going to go over chapters 3.3, 3.4, and 3.5. I apologize ahead of time. This is going to be brief. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to spend on every chapter, so I have chosen those works of art that are comparable to what we've been studying for Western art, things that have similarities and differences, but themes that make for good comparisons with other periods. All right, so all of the places we're going to look at have religion and philosophy as integral to the art that they make. This is very similar to the Renaissance and everything really like Egyptian art. We're going to look at Indian art quickly. With elaborate decorations, emphasis on the human body. We're going to look at Chinese art and Japanese art. For India, this is one of our gateway works, the Taj Mahal and its gardens. The Taj Mahal is a giant complex. This building here is the Taj Mahal, but everything else is part of it. It was one big design. I think that the video that's attached to the textbook does a great job of talking about the Shah and his beloved wife who passed away. So Shah Jahan and his wife passed away. He had many wives. She just happened to be his favorite, as he said. The garden symbolized paradise of heaven, so he could be close to her. It's 42 acres, divided by 4 rivers, milk, water, wine, and honey. And we looked at this at the beginning of the course as axial symmetry with the central pool and 5 fountains. And just to show you, so here's from one building to another is a pathway. And then all these other buildings are also by design to be integrated with this. And some of them are his lesser wives' houses. And this, the mausoleum for his deceased wife, the Taj Mahal itself. This beautiful marble building, which is totally symmetrical. It has these onion domes and these minarets, they're called, these towers, and beautiful gardens all around. It's meant to be as beautiful as she was, as was said. And this makes a good comparison to other buildings we've seen, especially marble buildings, say like the Parthenon. Buildings made of marble meant to be the most beautiful buildings in honor of somebody. That actually makes a great comparison, since the Parthenon is dedicated to Athena. And similar to medieval art with the pilgrimages, there's the Silk Road in India and Asia, and along the road is many places for trade. And one of the things that was traded were the images of Buddhas. If you're a Buddhist, this is one from Gupta. Right, so the beginning said it's a art of the body, right? But really, this is supposed to be an art of meditative of the mind. And we see the hierarchical scale here, this Buddha. And the highly decorative, everything has patterns and movement. So the path to nirvana set in motion, the sun orb behind him. This is one of my personal favorites, and I wish I could go see it. This is the mausoleum of the emperor. Some of you wrote about this in your comparison, did a great job. All these are life-size soldiers. There's over 8,000 of them, and they are of terracotta, which is a type of clay. And you can see this was excavated. It was thought that it was just a legend that this was here, like a myth, until it was actually found and dug up. So it's a burial mound of the first Chinese emperor. So it's like an underground palace, and we've seen other underground things, say the catacombs. Um, the pyramids might make a good comparison to this. Took them 36 years to make all of these because every single soldier is life-size and unique. So they did these casts of real people, sort of pieced them all together, and of course they have their horses with them. And they are there to protect the emperor in his afterlife. So that does make a good comparison to other things we've seen, other cultures we've seen in history that believe that what you have in this world goes with you into the next world. So you have to have some kind of burial practice to ensure your wealth and power in the next life. That actually sounds a lot like Egyptian art. This is one of our gateway works that the book refers back to, The Great Wave by Hakusai. And this is a wood block print. We've talked about this. We talked about the movement, but the balance. And he made all these wood blocks. I like that the book now it gives you the yin and yang. It's supposed to be similar to that kind of balance. So these are Japanese wood prints. It was a series that he did, Hakusai did, and they are mass produced. That means he can make many, many, many of them and sell them. Right? This isn't, he didn't invent this, of course. This is before the printing press. And this is a thing that artists do. Some artists in the Renaissance would do this as well. If you make, say, 10 of them, then you can sell 10 instead of one painting. So it kind of expands your market. And then quickly to the Americas. This is, we're going to look at the Inca, just one. We're going to look at the Machu Picchu, another place I would love to visit. This beautiful complex here on a mountain. This is actually like a tourist destination. Lots of people go and visit this. It was a religious retreat. The condor, which represented the spirit, is depicted throughout. It was in use from like 800 to about 1527, and then abandoned and buried, and then excavated. And then we're going to look at the Mayan culture, the shield jaguar and his wife. We've looked at these reliefs before. So in Maya, a ruler's powers were strengthened by prayers and sacrifices to the gods, including bloodletting, taking things to make hallucinations, to like be closer to God. I believe this one was in chapter 1. So this is a long series, but I'm just going to show you 3. There's 24 of them. So this is Shield Jaguar and his lady, and she is cutting her tongue with this rope, a thorny rope, which pulls through her mouth for bloodletting as a sacrifice to the gods. And he stands over her with his diagonal here. Highly decorative, and we're going to remember that this is a relief carving, which means it is not in the round, it's attached to the stone. Some things are high relief, like the figures look like they're kind of sticking way out of the stone. And some things are low relief, like some of the details. This one shows Shield Jaguar and the lady. Again, she's just sort of crouched. It's almost the same composition, except this time there's a snake with Shield Jaguar's head coming out of his mouth. So this would have been like a hallucination depicted. Excuse me. And then the last one we're going to look at for this chapter is a more domestic scene where she is handing her husband a helmet, and the helmet is the face of a jaguar. So he's taking on the power of a god. Right, so we've seen, which is represented by an animal. So we've seen other things like this, like the Lamassu, right? Or the that's Assyrian or Akkadian, and then there's the Egyptians did that. The Greeks did it with centaurs, right? So these make good comparisons to that. All right, that is it for that chapter. I will get on to the next one, and then we'll be ready for the test.